So something a little bit different. I thought I'd drop a review on a couple of fights from the Catterall Eubank card. If it's your first time tuning into my channel, hi, my name is Jacqui-Lee Pryce. I'm a former boxer and I've spent many, many years as a boxing coach and judge. Let's talk about Matchroom's new format. So I like the fact that they have their own fighters on their platform giving their opinions. And although I don't always agree with everything they say or even how they're scoring about, I do think it's an important skill to learn because some people don't know how to score a fight or even what the judges are looking for. So I tend to watch fights with the volume down. But when I'm forced to listen to fight commentary, it's my personal preference to hear from somebody that actually knows what they're talking about rather than somebody that just, I don't know, regurgitates somebody else's thoughts. So, former WBC featherweight champion Skye Nicholson made her debut as a super bantamweight and she took on Carla Gonzales. Gonzales was a little bit hesitant to throw for literally most of the fight. And Nicholson took a minute to find a range. She's a natural counterpuncher, but she was initiating attacks, which basically Gonzales was having none of it. I love the way that Nicholson was sitting down on her shots more. She was aggressive and she still had the hand speed. She landed the power punches and the fight was stopped in the second round. So firstly, let's talk about her opponent, Gonzales. Some people are saying, why is she fighting someone who's ranked 127th in the world? Don't they do that with male boxers? It's called rebuilding. It's all very well making a weight category, but can she make it consistently? And most importantly, can she perform at that weight? Realistically, the rebuild phase shouldn't take that long. Skye's a very experienced fighter, and we've got people out here calling for second and third fights between males who have been beat by or have beaten an opponent, and yet we are still asking for those fights. So that's the business. Yeah, let's not get all up into our feelings. So some takeaways from the Tiara Brown fight. There were some leaks in Skye's foundations. I mentioned this to a close source. And listen, Skye said it herself, that the mental side wasn't as strong, heading into a last fight. Nobody likes to lose, but I always like to see the positive in a negative situation. So, and even Skye said herself that she's gone away and she's worked on that aspect of her game. Let the kid learn, maybe have, I don't know, 1 or 2 fights at this new weight. But I honestly believe that Skye Nicholson 2.0 will be, I don't know, a better version than her former self. If you're enjoying this video, drop a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we drop new content. Now to the main event, Jack Catterall versus Harlem Eubank for the IBF Intercontinental belt. Catterall was coming off a defeat. Eubank is undefeated, but he hasn't really faced the same kind of opponents as Catterall. Jack Catterall fought at his new weight, and there were promises that whoever won this fight would move on to world honours. So let's talk about the ring walks. Eubank seemed to be really sort of focused and he was dialed in, just looking straight ahead of himself as he was walking to the ring. In contrast, Jack, he seemed to be a little bit distracted. And I don't know if I'm reading a little bit too much into it. Maybe it's just because he's a more experienced fighter. One of the things that I could see being a potential annoyance for a fighter, though, is, listen, I know that the fans have paid for their tickets and they kind of really want to participate and get involved, but like it must be really, really distracting for a fighter who's just trying to stay locked in, walk to the ring, and yeah, like they kept sort of bouncing his gloves, and bless him, he's trying to be polite by bouncing gloves. Yeah, I could see that that'd be really, really annoying to a fighter. They did it to the Welsh Wizard as well, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're so experienced they can kind of do all that, but still say, keep looking at the target and staying in their lanes. From the get-go, Eubank was having some success. He was managing to stay on the outside of Catterall's lead leg. He was initiating some of the attacks, some with success, and others he was missing the target completely. Catterall's a natural counterpuncher. We see Eubank trying to draw his lead. Eubank sometimes having the faster hands, the faster feet. Catterall was waiting a little bit too long, in my opinion, but he was less busy, but had the cleaner and more accurate shot. So it's what you like in it. Eubank sometimes has a tendency to initiate his attacks from out of range, so that sees him kind of falling in and falling short. Catterall can also be guilty of starting his attacks from too far out, but like I said, he's a natural counterpuncher, and he has the ability to keep his opponents off balance, out of range, and most importantly, not working. So in the fourth, Eubank started to apply pressure. You know, he had a better foot placement. He was initiating attacks. He was having some success, but to be honest, I think Catterall was still nicking the rounds. In the sixth round, there was an accidental clash of heads. Both fighters were cut, and initially it looked like Jack Catterall's cut was worse, but the doctor in Catterall's corner was okay for him to carry on. So, and I think it's important to mention that, you know, we're looking at it on a screen, but everything looks very different at ringside. So the action continues, and then apparently it was the doctor in Eubank's corner. She goes to an official. She says that she doesn't want him to carry on, and so the fight is stopped. In the post-fight interview, Eubank said he was robbed. I understand what a huge opportunity it was for him, and that adrenaline's running. But the doctors did their job, and their job is to basically protect the fighters at all times. There's an old saying that stars make fights. I think their stars clashed, and if I'm honest, I don't really want to see this fight again. Ahead of the fight, I recall people saying this was a must-win fight for Catterall. Like it was, I don't know, his last chance saloon territory. So if that's the case, he won. Okay, maybe it wasn't in the fashion that either fighter would have wanted, but I think it's time for Catterall to just move upwards and onwards. And Harlem Eubank, he'll come again. What are your thoughts? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.